In this lesson, I'm going to talk about the 3 hidden 2-5-1 progressions that are contained within any 2-5-1. Sort of like the upside down version of 2-5-1s. So we're going to learn a lot of music theory. There's going to be a lot of great lines for you guys throughout this video. You're going to want to stick around to the end. You'll learn a ton. And this explains the minor thirds pentatonics I did in my last video, and also what I called the backdoor 2-5-1 progression. So we're going to get into all of that. You guys are probably familiar with this 2-5, just D minor to G7 to C major, all right? The resolutions we deal with when we're looking at a 2-5 to the key of C is this 7th of G7, the F going to E, and that B, the 3rd of G7, staying on B and becoming the 7th of C major. So that's what we talk about when we talk about thirds and sevenths motion and the resolution of that. So I want to point out a couple things. When we're dealing with D minor and G7, our resolution is to these two notes, E and B, and that's going to be important. So a couple lines to demonstrate a resolution to B and a resolution to E. We could play this. And a resolution to E would sound like this. If you guys are interested in 2-5-1 lines in general, you can check out 2 previous videos, which I'll link in the description, talking all about 2-5-1s. This is going to be a little bit more advanced than those, though. So we have that regular 2-5. Let's call it the standard 2-5. You're familiar with that. What's the next thing we can do? Well, we can do a tritone sub 2-5, and this is the first of our hidden 2-5s. And the reason this works, a tritone sub, is we keep the same 3rd and 7th from G7. We just change how we think of them. So instead of thinking of the F as a 7th and the B as a 3rd, we think of the F as a 3rd and the B or C flat as the 7th. And that creates a D flat 7 chord. And D flat is a tritone or sharp 4 or flat 5th, either of those are the same, away from the G root. So in essence, instead of playing G7, we could play D flat 7. And that means that if we think of that D flat 7 as a 5 chord, we could put a 2 chord in front of it, which would be A flat minor 7. So a substitution for our D minor G7 to C could be A flat minor 7, D flat to C. Again, this works because we're keeping the voice leading and resolution points, the important points here, the F and the B, the same. It's still going to resolve just like that, but just with this chord. Okay? So let's listen to a couple lines demonstrating the same resolutions, a resolution to the B natural and a resolution to E, but this time using A flat minor 7 and D flat 7 as the basis of our line. And while I'm playing notes from A flat minor 7 and D flat 7, the underlying chord will still remain D minor 7, G7, and C major for the purpose of demonstrating that you can use these lines even when the other harmonic instrument, whether it's piano or whatever, is playing the normal 2-5. This still works because you create the tension and then we resolve properly to one of these notes I'm talking about, B or E. Here's our resolution going to E now. Okay, so those 2-2-5-1 progressions are probably relatively familiar to you. Now let's get into some more interesting ones. And the theory behind these next two comes from the fact that our C major chord, whether that's C major 7 or C6, that C major type sound, is almost the same as our relative minor, A minor. In fact, A minor 7 has all of the same notes, C, E, G, and A, as a C6 chord. It's just a different inversion we could think about. So in essence, because the A minor and the C major have so many of the same notes, we can think about them harmonically as the same chord. And this gives us 2 5s to that relative minor that we can play around with. So the first one I want to look at is as if we're doing a 2-5 to A using B minor and E7, okay? The important part here is that last chord, the 5 chord, and the resolution. The resolution here, what's really interesting about these next two is the resolution points change. So before we had our resolution points as B and E, as the common ones between our standard 2/5 and our tritone sub. Now with these next two, we get the other two notes of C major. So we're going to resolve instead to C's and G's. The G could be also resolved to an A. Either way, it's in the category of a fifth, so it could be like a C6 sound with A, or more of a C major sound if we use the G. Either one of those. And that's because our resolution points are G sharp and D. So the G sharp could go down to G, and our D could go down to C. That would resolve us. Or G sharp could go up to A, and D would still go down to C. Either way, or... So let's look at a couple options for lines with that resolution. And I'll play these with a resolution to A, although just know that the G sharp could have also gone down to G. Quick thing, if you guys need to listen to these examples, feel free to go back, watch this video again, get some more clarity on it. I put all of the chapters and all of the 251s that we're talking about in the description below, so you can easily go to them and search and check it out again. Also, there's a free PDF in the description below if you want to check that out. So all of those resources are available to help you learn this material. Let's check out this line over this B minor, E7 to A minor 7 or C6 type sound. Okay, now let's check out our other 2/5, this time resolving into C. And if you're seeing a pattern here, you might guess that our last hidden 2/5-1 progression is a tritone sub of this one we just did, which tritone sub away from B minor and E7. If we think about that, a sharp 4-way or flat fifth, we have F minor, B flat 7, and that would resolve into our C major. This progression is probably best known in the standard Ladybird. You see it there as a longer progression going up there. In the last video, I called it a backdoor 2/5 because it approaches the resolution from behind. And this one's really interesting. It's a really cool sound to use. I have a couple more interesting ideas based on all of these that I'm going to explain right at the end, but let's finish our discussion of this one. So F minor to B flat 7. Again, we have those same resolution points. Our A flat here in our F minor wants to resolve to G for C, or it wants to go up to A as like a C6 sound. And then our D note for B flat 7 wants to go down to C for the C as well. One other way you might be familiar with an F minor sound in the key of C is as a 4 minor sound, which is in a lot of pop songs and jazz songs as well. And it's this kind of sound where you have that, the 4 minor as a resolution to 1 instead of the 5. And it works for that same reason, that A flat goes down to G and our F goes down to E. So it has those resolutions. Here we're sticking the dominant chord B flat 7 in front of it, which changes that last D going to C. Okay, let's look at a couple lines here. Again, resolving to the A note first, and then we'll do another one resolving to C. Okay, so that's all 4 of our hidden progressions, but we're not done yet. What I want to point out, we've done them in order that I think is best for learning, but if we think about these 2 chords that we just went through, we have a D minor, G7 to C. If we go up a minor third, that's our backdoor progression. That's the F minor, B flat 7 to C. If we go up another minor third, that's our A flat minor, D flat 7 to C. That's our tritone sub. If we go up another minor third, that's the B, E7 to C6 or C major. So what does this mean? We have all of these 4 2/5s just by moving in minor thirds. And so this is the reason I like to think of why those pentatonics moving in minor thirds work so well, is because really what we're doing is we're accessing these other resolutions from these other 2/5s using that 2 minor sound. If we think about it a little bit more, if we think on the dominant side of things, so we have G7 B flat 7, D flat 7, and E7. And I've done a video before on diminished, but it was one of my first ones. This movement of a dominant chord in minor thirds is the same as a diminished type of sound, moving in minor thirds. So the second reasoning behind this, a stronger theoretical reason, in addition to what I just explained with the resolutions, one that kind of pairs up with it, is theory based on this diminished pattern, how the diminished chord as a dominant sound can be moved in minor thirds and still retain all the same notes. So it makes sense that if we do that and then throw a 2 chord in front of that, we're going to create different 2-5-1s that have good resolutions. So this is how I like to think about it. Hopefully this gives you a lot of inspiration for different sounds you can access. If you're just playing, a song like Take the A Train and it's just in the key of C, you don't have to just be playing C major scale type things or ideas just based on C. You have access to all of these other sounds if you're resolving them properly. So hopefully this gives you some ideas on how to do that. Again, you can check the PDF in the description below. And again, you can check out any of the other 2-5-1 videos also in the description. Hope this was helpful for you guys. If you have any other questions regarding this or other topics you'd like me to go over, please let me know in the comments. I appreciate all of the likes, comments, and the support. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.